All right, what's up, everybody? Back in the building, and we got our PJ Imani is in the building. I'm going to reintroduce you when we start the show officially, but yeah, much love to you, and we'll get into the campaign. Yeah, definitely, yeah. So we get into all that good stuff, but before we get into the actual show, I have a couple things that I want to bring up. We're gonna have some fun in the Twitterverse. All right, so here is. This guy, let me start it over. I'm going to put up the volume too. So this is somebody who's trying to get that perfect selfie. Trying to get that perfect selfie. The person went over like the cliff.
Grab me, no, grab with your hand.
See the person down there? Oh
my gosh. Can you hold?
Here. I need here. No, Link. Come on, please.
Let me hold on. Let me just pause it for a quick second. Imagine needing help, right? You're on the brink of death, and you're telling the guy like, "Hey, no, I need you to help me the way I want to be helped." Like how dare you? Try to do it this way. You got to do it the way I want, and you're out there like hanging from the cliff. It's crazy.
He's like, talk to me in my love language.
Grab his foot. They should give him his foot.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All I want to say is this. I was saying this before the pre-show. I do a lot of travel. I do a lot of photography. I do a lot of stuff in nature. There are all these people that are as dumb as this idiot, trying to get the perfect Instagram shot, the perfect selfie, the perfect whatever, and they lose their lives over it. You know, a lot of people do legit lose their lives over it. They don't realize how dangerous some of this stuff is, and then they slip and fall, and you never hear from them again. Don't get the Instagram selfie. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
They didn't have a do not enter sign. That's why.
Yeah, and even when they do, you still got these idiots that can't read. So, yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Was it the person that was stuck in the ice, and the car was sinking into the ice?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and what is she doing?
Frozen over, and they were like on top of the car, taking selfies and stuff.
Pictures.
Yeah, like Jesus, you be a little bit more worried.
Wait. So their car was sinking into the ice, and they were just like,
yeah, it was like a frozen lake or something.
Take a selfie.
I never saw that one. Carlita, if you could find that and bring it up, like put it in the chat or something, I would love to bring that up because that sounds interesting.
A part of me respects the dedication, though.
So here we got, I heard that the Biden military budget is about to be even bigger than in the past. This is after we got out of the biggest, the war theater with the Afghanistan war. I believe that's the biggest one we were in, and we left it apparently. But how come our military budget isn't decreasing, right? So here I came across this picture of this is the food on a U.S. Navy ship. So all that money going towards the military industrial complex, they can't even feed our soldiers like a decent meal.
Well, how accurate? Have we fact checked this?
Well, this is I don't know. We got a seal in the corner.
I mean, we may not fact check that, but it says I see your school lunch, and our school lunch, what they feed our kids is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I don't know. I could see them feeding something like that at the U.S. Navy ship. So, I mean, the military budget only goes to those big government contractor, defense contractor companies. So, and you always, they talk about how it's funny how they always talk about how the Democrats are against the military, but they always give the military a bigger budget than Republicans. So, it's a very interesting concept.
I remember a couple of years ago, there was like a story where they spent like billions of dollars on a warship that like wasn't even usable at the end of the day. Like they bought it and then they realized like, oh, we can't even use this. And it was just like sitting around somewhere. So, I mean, it's ridiculous the amount we spend on military.
It's absolutely nuts. Here is how our students at this school is being watched over like they're at the lifeguard, like they're at the pool. They have the cops like just
Wow.
how
What are
crazy
you gonna
is
do?
that?
Leap off from the chair and like jump onto a student? Like, what is the point of that?
No running. No running.
It's absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Kind of looks like a prison. Don't some prisons do that?
Yes.
Probably the towers,
Yeah.
like they have the watch towers, right?
Yeah.
All he needs is a gun, like a rifle, a sniper gun, or something like
Right.
that. That's all he needs.
And speaking of
this is
budget,
a-
that's where the police budget is going to that. Like,
yeah,
could be going to actually fund the schools, but it's going for that police officer to sit there.
it's crazy, crazy. Here's this guy. They're cleaning up the garbage from this river, which is awesome, right? Until you find out.
Oh wow! Wow.
It's just like spread it to the other side. I don't know what the purpose of this.
It looks like
was.
there's a flood. You know, it's probably a flood created all that garbage, and then they're just trying
man.
to like.
Oh, it can't get under, so they,
Yeah, people trying
Yeah.
to
they can keep on going down the line.
Oh man, that's a
I
absolutely
mean, like
tough
that,
one.
I mean, I could see that. I don't know where the
Oh,
garbage
man.
is going, but I could see why they moving it over.
I can see why
Here's
they're
a-
doing it. I'll in the street and then just have a garbage truck come pick it up from the street.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't. Logic, Imani, come on, how dare you? Here's a tweet from Steven Donziger. He says, "It's infuriating. You know, she killed Dante Wright and will be free in 14 months. I helped Amazon indigenous peoples win $9.5 billion in a pollution case against Chevron, and I have spent 1,000 days detained on a petty charge prosecuted by a private law firm. What is our justice system protecting?"
Yeah, he's the
Crazy.
guy that was in what was the documentary? I just watched it not too long ago, where he's on
yes.
house arrest, right?
Yeah, he was on house arrest. Then they actually put him in prison, right? They actually put him in prison. And I think the prison people, they were like, "Hey, what are you here for?" And when he told them, they're like, "Why? You're not supposed to be here." So eventually they let him go back home on house arrest. And then recently they took him out of his house and put him in a halfway house. Like they're just totally
Wow.
harassing this guy, man.
Yeah, and the worst part is that they couldn't prosecute him, pretty much. So they got a private law firm to do it like the case for the government in there, or because he was helping indigenous people against a big corporation. So that's the question is who's the justice system protecting? It's property ownership and in short. So it's money, profits. That's about it.
And don't forget which private company he was protecting. I mean, he was going after too. Once you start the oil industry, I mean, they're some of the worst. You have to have a lot of money to mess with those people.
So this next tweet is for Izzy because this is kind of in New York City in your area. But Jabari Bresport, who's from what I understand, he's a great. I think he's in the assembly in New York. Like he ran as a Green Party, but then he became a DSA member. But he put out this tweet. According to a study by this group, rents in Bed-Stuy are up 10% since last year. They're up 22% in Fort Greene and Clinton Hill, and a whopping 48% in Prospect Heights. Brooklyn, good cause for eviction would limit rental increases. So I'm just curious, Izzy, have you seen any of these type of increases? I know you're in the. Well, I don't want to say it unless you want to say, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I've said I'm in the Bronx. I haven't heard specifically. I know that costs are going up across the board. I'll be honest. I mean, I have a bit of a love-hate thing with Brooklyn right now. I mean, growing up, it was a love, but right now with the way it's been so gentrified, if this is mostly hitting gentrifiers, oh well. Like that's kind of how I feel. Like, oh well. If it's hitting, the people who are still, trying to stick it out there, the, born and raised there, then I feel for those people. But I can't say for sure. A lot of those neighborhoods do look like very gentrified neighborhoods, though.
Yeah.
Imani, do you know in your neighborhood, have you seen any type of super high raise in rents or anything like that going on?
Definitely not. So not in my neighborhood where I live, but definitely in the district for sure.
Okay.
Like in Newark and Jersey City for sure. And it's a huge issue. Like housing stability in this area is a huge issue, both when it comes to home ownership and foreclosure, and when it comes to rent. Because basically what happens is that kind of stuff happens in New York, and then people try to flee to Jersey to find cheaper prices, and then the developers jack their prices up here. So it's just like people try and move more and more and more south. And as they do, developers just get greedier and greedier and just increase rents. So it's definitely happening here. It's happening in pretty much any larger city around the nation for sure.
And it's
And one of the
crazy
rough parts
because
too is that. Oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Chase.
Izzy.
Oh, I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say that it's not just the people that have the means to move that are moving out, further away from the city. It's also the
Mhm.
people that have no choice because they're getting forced out by some of the prices we just saw, and they
Mhm.
have to move further away from the city because it's the only thing that they can even try to afford. And we're affecting those people too in places like Newark and all that. So yeah,
Yep.
it's rough all
That,
the way across the board.
that's what they did in Washington Heights. They went
Exactly.
and they went and like triple everyone rent,
Mhm.
and then Washington Heights in the next 2 or 3 years is gonna be all developers, all upper
Oh,
middle
yo, when was the
class.
last time you've been? It's already a little late.
Well, I
The
don't
Yeah,
know.
places already.
I stay away from New York.
Yeah, it's
it's
a
been
good thing
forever,
because
man. Like the place where I used to live, but my family still lives in that apartment. I know it was gone. I mean, it got to be 15 years ago, probably. When I first saw Starbucks. When I
Mhm.
first saw Starbucks, I was like, okay, this is the beginning of the end. And now, and true to form, it is, man. Like you can't even, like most of the people that live in the building. Sorry to say, they like what are they called? Is it yuppies or whatever? Like
Mhm.
young unmarried, whatever. Yeah, and it's like that. The rent's been going up. They're dying to kick people out, including my family, because
Mhm.
they'll automatically jack up the rent. They could only increase it a certain percentage every year.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
if they could get them out and get new people in, they could jump in from a much larger rent from the get go. So
Yeah.
they like it's a hassle to get them to fix anything because they want to make it hard so you could move out and then they could really fix it and jack up the prices.
Yep. And one of
And
the things, like, so this neighborhood that I actually live in, there are high rises going up, but there are people coming to these homes all the time and asking people to sell their homes. And what they're trying to do is get them to sell for like a lower price. Then because Montclair is like a hip happening town, if you're like trying to move from New York and it has like a ritzy reputation, even though it's not. In certain places in the town, and then they can jack up your prices and gentrify the neighborhood. So happens here too.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. We got about to get the show started, but I've heard that there's a number of vacant like apartments in like New York City, those high rises.
Yeah.
Like that's a place where the rich just store their money. Like,
Exactly.
and it's just absolutely crazy how the system, the type of capitalist system we have, and the effects of it. So let's get the show started. And before we get the show started, though, I want to give a quick shout out to PJ Hollyhorn is in the building, and PJ Neat, I see you, Alan, is in the building. All right, so now let's get the party started.
We see it.
Yeah, there was a delay. There was a delay. The music, something happened. But anyway, welcome everybody. This is Case Study QB, and we are back in the building. We got our PJ Imani is in the building.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see the just the progression of your campaign. Like I remember talking to you before you even started running, and now to see you doing shows with Marianne Williamson, Brianna Joy Gray, Crystal Ball, and getting the word out there, and endorsed by a brand new Congress. And we just know that good things are going to come from your campaign, and just looking forward to seeing where it goes. So let me give the floor right to Imani. You got the mic.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? Happy to be here for those folks that have seen me on this show before, during my run in the earlier days, and even before that when I was just an organizer. Happy to see y'all again. For all the new people, my name is Imani Oakley. I'm running for Congress in New Jersey's 10th congressional district, and so far so good. We outraised my opponent 2-1, our first ever fundraising quarter. No corporate PAC money, no PAC money at all. Actually, not even progressive PAC money. Only individuals. We raised six figures again my second quarter. Same thing, only individual donations. Average donation $33. So we're going strong. We've been endorsed by about 18, 19 organizations / individuals at this point. We got a full campaign team going. So I'm feeling really, really good about where we are. We were mentioned in Teen Vogue and Daily Beast for our campaign work. And it's only going to go up from here. So June 7th is the race, and so far so good.
Nice, June 7th. So okay. So we're gonna have. Hopefully, we could get a in the building. We get an invite to the watch party, wherever that is. Like, I wonder if you and let me know if you don't have it planned out, but do you plan to do it like almost like what AOC did? They had a bar kind of reserved, kind of like that type of thing.
So it's going to depend on COVID. I'll just be honest. Like everything we've been doing has depended on, what the state of COVID is. It'll be warmer, so might be, a better time. So we're just trying to see whether it'll be virtual or whether it'll be like at a place. So it all depends on COVID. Whatever COVID wants to do, that's what we're going to be basing our stuff off of.
We already know what COVID wants to do.
Yeah. So with
Imani, real quick, I was gonna say drop your website for everybody so that they know where to go.
Yeah, for sure. So our website is my last name, Oakley, Oakley, the word for, FOR, Congress.com. So oakleyforcongress.com. You can check out more about me, who I've been endorsed by, and my full platform is on there. So check that out. You can also follow me on all social media at Imani Oakley, NJ10. So at my first name, my last name, NJ10.
Right, there it is. And for those who don't know, Imani Oakley was the first People's Gauntlet contender, finished all 5 gauntlets first. So definitely appreciate her for that. And soon we're going to be adding Stephen Delsimer. I think, no, not Delsimer. Stephen Holden. There we go. Stephen Holden, who's also a Marianne, and Imani's also endorsed by Marianne Williamson. And Stephen Holden is also endorsed by Marianne Williamson, who's going to be joining the ranks pretty soon. So my question for you, Imani, is the campaign itself. Like, how's that going as far as, you've seen the growth in your volunteers and you have a team around you now. Can you give us a little bit of the insight there?
Yeah, so far so good. We have been knocking doors, making phone calls. That's another thing that we would love for y'all to do when you go to the website. Sign up to volunteer. One of our field people will reach out to you. We can get you started. We do virtual phone banking, so we can get you set up there. But so far so good. I mean, the reception has been very, very positive for us. We were knocking doors the other day, and I was just telling y'all a little bit before we hopped on that folks have been saying like, "Hey, yeah, I've heard of you. I really want to support." So honestly, the support has been very, very strong. But of course, we got to keep pushing through June 7th. Like even on election day, we got to push and get people out to the polls. For those that have seen me on this show before, I probably talked about it, but New Jersey has the most corrupt ballot design in the entire nation. Literally, we are the only state that has it. And what's basically going to happen is I'm going to be in a random place on the ballot, either all the way out to the right if your ballot goes vertical, or all the way at the bottom if your ballot goes horizontal. So people are going to have to search for me on the ballot. Just keep that in mind for election day. If you're in Jersey, if you're in my district, NJ10, you will have to look for me. But otherwise, so far, so good. I mean, the reception has been positive, and we're just building.
Awesome. So recently there's been a lot of talk about the Dem exit versus Dem enter conversation. And Hector Osieta, he was on a show with Compton J, and they had it out. And not to say that they're having conversations, which I think is very, very helpful. It's not people disrespecting each other, but they're debating strategy. They're talking about strategy. And I want you to kind of give your piece on, because Hector, and he's also in New Jersey, was basically telling Compton J, like, hey, in New Jersey, you can't run on any other party because it's just not viable. So I wanted to throw that question to you and see. So the question would be, why did you run as a Democrat instead of as a third party in New Jersey, in your district?
Yeah, so I've always been registered as a Democrat for one, since I was 18, old enough to vote. So I mean, that was also the party that I've been a part of. But also for me, I do think that we can change the Democratic Party, and I also think that a name is just a name. What makes a name is the people behind it. You could say we could create a new party tomorrow called the XYZ Party. But if there's a bunch of people who take corporate PACs in it, if there's a bunch of people who aren't effective in some way, if there are a bunch of people who aren't from the neighborhoods and aren't in tune with their community, it could be a third party, but it won't be effective. So for me, a name is, it is a title, but it's really the people behind it that make up what it's going to be. And I'm trying to change, what people view and perceive when they see Democrat, because I understand why people are fed up, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, chastise people for being fed up with the Democratic Party. I get it, because we have corporate Democrats like my opponent who will accept money from folks like Wells Fargo that have been giving people predatory loans for years, folks like ExxonMobil and Raytheon, which is a weapons manufacturer, right? You have those people not working for everyday folks who, vote consistently Democrat. So I understand why people are fed up. Personally speaking, I'm trying to change that perception because for me, a name is only as strong as the people behind it. So that's kind of my outlook on that.
Awesome. Yeah, and as we see just today, Jordan Sheridan did an interview about the Movement for a People's Party. That's the third party that they're trying to court Bernie Sanders to run under their party, and they're having a lot of issues from the leadership. Nick Bronner, like there's a lot of, I don't want to call it corruption. They're coming out with more information, but they've been promising for 5 years now that they would start running candidates, and they haven't ran anybody yet. They're just collecting money, getting money from donations, but not running anybody. And then Paula Jean Swearengin tweeted out just blasting and saying that she's leaving because she left the Democratic Party, joined the Movement for People's Party, and then recently she left the Movement for People's Party, citing a lot of disorganization and a lot of things like that, etc. So you're going to find issues. My point is you're going to find issues wherever it is, third party or within the Democratic Party. My personal opinion is I want an all-above strategy. Every district is different. Let me open it up to the panel. You guys haven't really chat yet, so anybody have any opinion on this?
I think John's face spoke volumes.
Go ahead, John.
Oh no, I don't have anything to say. We'll wait for Imani to leave, and we could touch base on how we feel. How I feel.
This is the professional section. We're gonna pop the trunk afterwards.
We're gonna park that topic until later on.
Imani, I saw a video that I'm gonna play that you I believe you tweeted out about your opponent. Let me go ahead and bring this up, and I want to bring it up, and we're gonna talk about it and let you expand on it.
Shorts, and you won't believe who he is. He's a 62-year-old U.S. congressman from New Jersey, Donald Payne Jr.
I'm just going to start it over real quick.
This guy forgets to turn off his camera during a morning Zoom call, revealing his belly in striped boxer shorts. And you won't believe who he is. He's a 62-year-old U.S. congressman from New Jersey, Donald Payne Jr. The look on the face of this Florida congresswoman says it all. She's completely shocked. The Gap is getting big reaction. If taxpayers are paying you $174,000 per year, getting out of bed and putting some clothes on for work seems like it should be a minimum requirement. A Republican, this guy forgets to turn off his camera.
So, Imani, can you give us the story behind this?
Yeah, so I mean, the story is what people saw. Literally getting out of bed, and for me, I get that it's the pandemic. We've all kind of like worn sweats or whatever under like professional attire and whatnot. But for me, the bigger part of this video is he's getting out of bed. It's not like he, stood up and just forgot that he had sweats on or whatever. That's a Homeland Security Committee meeting, and he's climbing out of bed. That is so symbolic of what his entire 10 years in office has been like. He really does not pay attention to doing this job and doing it correctly and really working for this district. And again, when you have Republicans coming out and saying you're getting paid $175K a year to show up like that, that's a problem. That's a problem when Republicans are, making a point there. And he gets paid $175K in taxpayer dollars to not care about showing up to a Homeland Security meeting. That is an issue, and it's one of the reasons why I'm running against him. He has the third lowest attendance rate out of all of Democrats. One of the lowest attendance rates out of both Republicans and Democrats. This guy is not going to work. He inherited the seat from his father, and he thinks he can just keep the seat warm without actually working for everyday people. And clearly, he thinks he can just roll out of bed and go into a committee that's really a very serious committee. For those that don't know, one of the biggest threats in the United States, the biggest domestic terroristic threat is the white supremacy terrorism that's going on right now. And Homeland Security Committee would be one of the committees looking into that. And this is a guy that represents a majority Black and brown district getting out of bed to go work on that committee. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And this is why I'm going to replace him on June 7th.
Yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait because I mean, I'm looking at him and seeing that's how serious he takes that homeland security. I mean, I would think you would put on a suit or something and at least sit at your dinner table or sit in a whole different atmosphere. He's literally in his bed, like I think John, were you going to say
Yeah,
something? Go
I
ahead.
just had a question real quick because trying to. So you said he's been around for like 10 years, right? So this is the first time that he gets an opponent, or has he been before? Has he faced anyone? One.
Yeah, so I'm the first opponent that's like really run a strong race against him, meaning like fundraising wise, campaign infrastructure wise. So I'm really like his first very serious opponent for sure. He's had some in the past, but they haven't been able to build, what we've been really fortunate enough to build ourselves. So yeah, no really serious challengers to him. And it's funny because now he's starting to like actually get up and like try and look like he's been doing work. And it's funny because people text me all the time and they're just like, yeah, Imani, you're making this guy work. I've never seen him work this hard his entire time in Congress. So it's funny, but it's not, because it's funny because he thinks that putting in the work now, people are just going to forget about for 10 years that he wasn't doing any work. But it's also not funny because it should not take you being threatened to somebody threatening to strip your power from you in order for you to go to work and really want to work with people you're supposed to be working for. I mean, that's the entire job. So, that's what's going on right now. But yeah, I'm his first like really strong, I would say, challenger.
That's your campaign platform. Alan says Imani against lazy Zoomers.
I will show up to work. I will actually show up for you. I will actually go to work and work for you. That's the slogan we're going with.
Awesome. All right, so before we let you go, in a video, in a call-in session that I was in with Brianna Joy Gray, that's one of the concerns, along with that them exit versus them enter conversation. One of the concerns is, how do we hold progressive candidates accountable when beforehand? Is there anything that we can do? Because we know once that we give them our volunteers, we volunteer for them, we give them our money for donations, and then they get in the office, and it seems like a lot of people get disappointed by certain things that goes on, and they want to know, like, how do we hold them accountable? So some questions I came up with, one of the questions was, will you endorse progressive challengers early and often? And you as a challenger right now, the importance of being endorsed early and often. So let me ask you that question first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week now, Rolling Stone came out with an article that showed Hakeem Jeffries and Josh Gottheimer are jumping behind a whole lot of corporate Dems and trying to keep them in office. And so, I think progressives need to do the same. I think progressives need to come together and support other progressives in office to make sure that we are being that counterbalance to folks like Gottheimer and Hakeem Jeffries, who want to keep these folks in office and aren't doing anything, by the way, in swing districts where there are real threats of Republicans winning. They're not paying attention to those districts at all, using zero of their political power to help those districts at all. Instead, they're trying to stop progressives. So they prefer Republicans into progressives. But what progressives have to do is be a counterweight to that. And I definitely look forward to being one of those counterweights once I'm elected.
Can I ask
money?
Can I ask
go ahead, John.
No, sorry. I want to ask her one question before she goes. So I know that the big powerhouse, the big power progressive, they've put a lot of the focus on Texas right now. So how important you think the Texas race? So I think they both might March 1st or something, right? So let's say those two, Jessica Cenero and Greg Casar, right? Let's see if they win. If they win, how important do you think that will be for the progressive movement to get everybody kind of excited? And do you think that they winning will be like a boost to like the other races like yourself that are in the June timeframe?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I don't want to put too much pressure on them because I know they're probably sweating bullets right now since their election day is March 1st. But I do think, once they win, I do think that is going to really, really ramp up and supercharge the progressive movement. Now, a lot of people have been putting in a lot of good work, but I think once we get, two hopefully through the door, I know there's also Jessica Mason as well. So maybe we'll get 3 folks in the door down in Texas. I think that would be a great boost to the progressive movement. And we'll get 3 more progressives in office. So I'm feeling real good. I feel real confident, though, about what's going on in Texas right now. I mean, the FBI showed up at Cuellar's, you know? I mean, like, you know, so I feel good about what's happening down there. And hopefully, you know, March 1st goes our way. And I think that'll be really, really good to really supercharge our movement, to give us momentum for the rest of the cycle.
Okay, I got just two more. So you were talking about Hakeem Jeffries, but Imani, he's a progressive. What are you talking about? You know, you mean he's going against progressives. But that brings me to my second question is, will you join the Progressive Caucus? And the reason why I'm asking that question, because a lot of people in the audience are going to say, of course, she's a progressive. You would join the Progressive Caucus. And that's because there's so many people who are a part of the Progressive Caucus, and then they're part of like the New Dem Caucus, and there's the Blue Dog. You know, they're just trying to have their foot in both camps, the moderate and the progressive camps. And so there are people like Jason Cole who's saying, I won't join them. And I don't know if he said he will start his own caucus, but what do you think about joining a caucus, joining the Progressive Caucus? What's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, so I was actually on a call with Jason Cole the other day, Twitter Spaces, with him and Hector Oseguera, as well as a few other candidates who were running an NJ08 and NJ1 here in New Jersey. And Jason did say that he would be, you know, interested in starting his own caucus with progressives that not only say that they're progressives, but also, you know, back it up with the policies they support and don't take money from corporate PACs, etc. And my answer to him was that I would do both. I would join that new one that he's trying to bring about, as well as join the old. I would join the new one because, of course, you want to be around like-minded people who truly believe in progressivism because of the policy, and they want to actually help everyday people. But I would also join the other one to act as a catalyst to make sure that we are pushing those ones who want to go around and flaunt the name of progressive, but don't actually have any action behind that. I want to be a catalyst to push them and say, hey, you're a part of this caucus. Why aren't you supporting this right now? I want to go on the floor and go into committee and say, hey, you know, like everybody here is flaunting the name progressive when it comes to election time. So why don't you back this bill right now? I want to serve as a catalyst there. And I think if you're not a part of that caucus, it's harder to be that kind of pushing catalytic force. So I would join both. That's my answer there.
Gotcha. The last question I got for you is, will you go on left independent media, just like shows like this one, at least once a month, or maybe you could give, if you have your own specific time period or whatever. But I think that's a great way for us, the grassroots, to hold our progressive candidates accountable, or at that point you will be elected, hold you accountable by being able to ask you, you know, the tough questions, and whether we like your answer or not. You know, Ro Khanna is probably one of the people who goes almost everywhere. I've seen him on Fox. I've seen him on Status Quo, which is on YouTube. I've seen him on MSNBC. He goes everywhere. So what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't see the issue. I've been doing it all this time. Don't see why I stop now. I also even had my own leftist podcast for a while. So, I mean, I do think they serve a good service in this space when it comes to covering candidates that larger news outlets and very, very corporate news outlets, you know, won't cover. So, I mean, I have no problem with it. I've been doing it all this time. Was a part of the culture myself before running. So I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, you put in the work. All right. So before I any last words before we let Imani go? But
for me or
from anybody having last questions for Imani? All right, I guess not.
Good luck. Keep it going, man.
Yeah, we here. We're fighting for you, and we love you very much, and we hope that you have lots of success. And let us know. Let me know if there's anything we can do to help.
For sure.
And so everybody, definitely check out Imani Oakley. It's oakleyforcongress.com. Any last words, Imani? Go ahead and give your Twitter, give all the information again one more time, and lead us out.
Yeah, we're on all social media at Imani Oakley NJ10. So any social media, that's going to be our handle. Also, please go to our website, oakleyforcongress.com, oakleyforcongress.com. Please sign up to volunteer. Please, if you can, drop 25, 50. If you're feeling hot, drop 100, because I'm not taking money from corporate PACs. We got to keep up and make sure we're raising that money so that we can win come June 7th. And if you are in the district, if you're in New Jersey's 10th district, which spans Essex County, Hudson County, and Union County. You are likely in my district, and we'll see you on June 7th. Please come out, look for me on the ballot. I'm not going to be on the ballot line. I'll be in a random spot, so you got to look for me and vote for us, and we can get this movement going.
All right, awesome. Maybe when they get the sample ballot, right, we'll have you back on, and we can literally show it up on the screen and kind of explain it, because it's so hard to even understand how crazy the ballot system is. Like, you have to see it to understand it.
Exactly. So, yeah, it'll come out in April, so we can schedule then, and then
sounds good.
We'll have it public and we can talk about it, because it is crazy.
Imani Oakley, everybody, PJ Imani. Thank you so much for coming through. I'm gonna let you out right now, but much love to you. All right, so let's get back into the show. And oh man, it's great to know that we knew somebody before they even ran. But anyway, let's get the show started.
She was a PJ. She was a political junkie with us. The first female political junkie we had in the show before.
I think she was the first female on the show, right? Yeah, I think so. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Bendone, let's go around the horn, say what's up to everybody, and much love to Ware Pilgrim in the chat, my man. Bendone, how you doing? Got your heart? I see your heart.
Feeling the pressure of the show. Breaking me down.
Yeah,
it's hard. Somebody got to do it.
Izzy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. My heart rate is a lot lower, so I'm good.
Carlito.
Face up, baby. Atlanta face, only undefeated team in the Call of Duty League. Thank you.
Nice. John.
I'm good, just another day in Virginia politics, so
yeah. How's it? Yeah, how things going over there in Virginia, man? Give us an update.
It's crazy, man. This guy is he has 40% approval rating. He ran on raising teachers' pay. Now they have a bill to decrease the teachers' pay.
What?
He basically has a whole war against education. It's nuts, man. So the Virginia right now is like the People's Party, a hot mess.
Wait, you mean a Republican lied and wants to pay less to teachers? No.
At this point, Republican or Democrat, they're almost interchangeable.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Izzy, because we had Biden who gave us he's going to take away $10,000 of student loan debt, and then he's done nothing. But at least he didn't say, "Oh, we're going to add more."
But if you go to New York, easy boy right here, Adams, he's going. I think New York is going to be reduced $100 million from school funds. Like the way they're doing it and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Easy, I know. I like to call you your boy because that gets you going.
Every time. Anything New York is my boy. Could be the most racist, horrible person is my boy.
Your boy. All right.
Richie Torres, your boy.
Oh man, don't get me started with that guy, Richie Torres. Oh jeez. All right, let me show you guys this video real quick. Let me start it over.
Wow. How you doing, sir? How you doing, man?
This is how it starts.
What's going on? I'll be happy to tell you once I see who I'm talking to, all right? I need you to let me know, what's going on. What happened? I'd be happy to tell you once I see information. I'm not giving you my information until you tell me what you pulled me over for. All right, sir. Failure to give me my information is an arrestable offense, okay? So you can either do this the easy way or the hard way, all right? I need to know what you're pulling me over for. I'm going to tell you once I see information, all right? I got information, but I'm not giving you my information until you tell me what you're pulling me over for. Here's the deal. Either give me your ID or you go to jail. How about that? Put this on camera, man, because you're not dealing with this.
All right, this goes on for 3 minutes. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I'm going to show the results real soon. But from what I understand, you need probable cause to pull somebody over. Am I right, guys?
As far as I'm aware.
Man, I don't know. Man, the laws vary a lot by different states. Sometimes you could ask for ID, and they're supposed to show you. And then in other states, you don't have to show them unless they have proof that you did something. So it varies a lot. I don't know what's up over here.
Yeah, we got to figure out what state was this on.
What?
I mean, it don't matter to me because I probably wouldn't know the law anyway.
Because I know there's certain states. Yeah, I don't see the state here, but they have a place, states where the policeman will pull you over, and then they'll say, "Oh, we smell marijuana," so now you have to get out. And that would be the probable cause. But here he's like, "I'm just pulling you over. Give me your information."
Yeah, they could easily say like, so you swerve or what? I mean,
say something.
Like lie all the time.
Speeding.
They lie all the time. But let me fast forward it. So now he gets backup. He calls him backup. Go ahead, Izzy. You was gonna say something?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay, so he calls in backup now, and of course, when you get backup, that's when the real boldness comes out. All right.
You gotta let me know what's going on, man. You're not doing it. You're going to jail. What's going on? For what? For what? You ain't. What charges? On what charges? Wow. What the hell? Get out of the car now.
Look, they even ask them to get out.
I'm going to go on a wild guess here. The driver's black.
Get out of the car, man. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Do they not know that they're recording?
Get out of the car.
This is the police stash cam.
Get out of the car now. Get out on the ground. Put your hands behind your back.
All right, so yeah, that's basically what happened there. And let me see. It says Sandra Bland. Now there's more. Okay, I had this one. It says you're probably suspended by the license. It says this person tweeted out, "This right here is when the cop admits he pulled him over for being black." And you see the quote was when he said, "You're probably suspended, so you don't want to give me your license." So you see how his frame of thinking is like, yeah.
That's like a driving version of stop and frisk, basically. Like just stop whoever you can and try to make something of it once you do.
Yeah, just assuming stuff. That video, if you guys haven't seen John Oliver video dropped today, they were interviewing somebody in John's favorite state of Virginia, and they interview a lady saying about CRT, and they were asking her about it. She's like, "Well, we can't talk about race. If anybody just we stop talking about it, wouldn't be that big deal. It's not like that over here." And they asked her about when people get pulled over, and black people, and she was saying like, well, if you are, the way you dress or the way you act, or you was, I went to all the stereotypes after she was talking about, the content of your character, trying to, people quoting Martin Luther King and crap like that. But she also went to the stereotypes. Like, oh yeah, well, if you dress a certain way, then we gotta assume, I guess, that you're a criminal.
Yeah, she doesn't see color. Remember, she said that too. She doesn't see color. And that was the first thing she jumped to. Well, how was he acting? What was he wearing? This and that. And it's just like right away, you're just assuming.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why was it so hard for that cop to just say like, I pull you over for X reason. Like literally, like like the guy wasn't really like cursing, was not getting loud, was just telling me like, just tell me why you're getting pulled over.
I got more information. Let me say real quick. So Mr. Jones was choked out, taken to a cell, stripped down to his boxers, and left alone in a holding cell. And this is apparently Taylor PD. So Taylor, I believe that's Pennsylvania. And 26-year-old Calvin. This is him right here. And this is the story right here. It's definitely another example of the typical day in America, police brutality.
Can you share?
You can tell he kind of like just lost it because like the cop put his knee against the door and then pulled on the window, and that's what broke it. Like, what was that even about? What are you even trying to accomplish there? Like, you can tell the rage just came over him,
And he knew exactly what he was doing. He put on his gloves before he went ahead and did it.
He was getting ready. Yep. It's like the worst crime is disrespecting a cop. It doesn't matter if you're right or anything. It's like you gotta respect my authority.
Respect
if you're a minority. If you're a minority.
Oh yeah. True.
That's the thing, like, but he wasn't even disrespecting him. He was just like,
If you're not a minority,
just
you can
tell
say
me why
anything
you
you
want me
want.
over.
That's enough.
Yep. All right, we're gonna get into Carlito's rundown. You ready, Carlito?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Alan made a good point that this happened in 2016, and we're just hearing about it now. So like they
Oh
basically,
wow.
they probably released that video like 6, 7 years later.
Yeah, and
Oh.
the people who had to fight to get it released too. I'm sure.
Probably.
Oh man, that's like the what's it? My Arbery case in Georgia. They were ready to sweep it under the rug. It wasn't until they found so much wrongdoing by the prosecutors that they had to go back and check. And that when the video went viral, that's when they went back to check all that. So they'll keep it quiet and they'll say, we gotta do an internal investigation. We don't know when.
Yeah.
Like dash cam, body cam footage, they should release it immediately.
Yeah. I agree with
They
you.
they have dial-up internet. That's why it takes forever to upload to get shared and distributed.
They need fiber
because we don't have.
I think honestly, it should be uploaded to a cloud where they would have other activist organizations would get the footage in like real time. So it's not just going to the police department, like it's going to anyone who would ask for access to those tapes, and they can release it. You know,
yeah,
what I'm
like,
saying?
like in places they have like oversight boards, which a lot of them have like the oversight boards. They should get access immediately to that.
They should get access. Yeah, definitely, I totally agree with you. All right, let's get to it.
Alrighty, let's go to the first article. Anti-exploitation bill advances in Senate despite free speech. Wrong video.
You're right. Wrong one. My bad.
Despite free speech concerns by Russell Brandon at The Verge. So the ERNIC Act is a bill that was recently advanced by the Senate Judiciary Committee, which targets Section 230 protections for content involving online sexual exploitation. However, critics say that the ERNIC Act will make it far riskier for platforms to host user-generated content. I agree with a lot of the sentiment of the critics, but Izzy and I had, in a private chat, didn't agree on all of the ways that this bill is terrible yet. So talk about it, Izzy.
Yeah, so obviously I think you're very well aware that the first thing that this really puts into risk is the encryption, essentially, right? They want to make it so that these social media companies, these online media companies, whatever they are liable no matter what for any child content that may show up on their webpage, even if they're doing a really good job of trying to patrol that. And the way they're going to target that is encryption, right? Because that's what a lot of these companies now, the companies that do care about our privacy and our security, they're not able to see a lot of the content that's being posted to their sites. And then so the belief is that encryption is going to be targeted because it's a way for media companies to say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not aware of what's on our site, so therefore you can't prosecute us. So we have to be very worried about that for that reason. The other reason is for sex workers, essentially. This FOSTA was a legislation that came out about 4 years ago that really decimated the sex worker industry online. It put a lot of people at risk because it forced them to go back out into the streets, especially trans people of color. And this is only an extension of that. This is only going to make that problem worse, and it's going to make it harder for social media companies and just media companies in general to be able to host any sort of content that may even be remotely questionable to these Puritan Republicans. And so there's going to be a lot of dangers in the sex worker space for this too. So I'm really hoping that this doesn't pass. But I mean, with FOSTA the way it's gone and how horrible it's been, we just never know at this point.
Yeah, so a little real quick, the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which was passed in 1996, says that interactive computer service can't be treated as the publisher or speaker of third-party content. This protects websites from lawsuits if a user posts something illegal, although there are exceptions for pirate and prostitution-related material. So basically, all the comments in different websites, they basically, if this passes, they're gonna have to take them down because somebody could come in, put something there incendiary, and automatically make the website owner or the publisher liable for whatever they put up there, which is ridiculous. So they can't. It's not like a news story that you're putting out with your name on and a byline. It just ran those on the internet. So next story. Grocery stores are excited to charge you higher prices by Nathaniel Meyerson at CNN Business. Inflation is the talk of the town in DC circles, which is also a circus. And grocery stores, being typical corporations, are fine using that narrative as an excuse to sneak in higher prices that customers may not notice or not blame them for. What's going on in this article, John?
Hey, so what is it called? Capitalism at its best. You know,
Inflation.
The Kroger CEO even said, he said inflation is good for little inflation is good for our business. So basically what they're doing is, they what these grocery stores are doing. So if they pay in an extra 6 cents for a pound for meat, they just adding like 12, they're making it 12 to 13 cents for the consumer, because what they say is, a consumer for a gallon of milk or, pound of meat or piece of bread or something, they're not going to feel 10 cents. So they just keep continuing to pass down the price on consumer, what they racking, millions and millions of dollars in profit, especially for the CEO. They're not paying people minimum wage, and they're just getting away with it. So they're going to continue to do that. There's nothing that they're going to stop them. They're going to use inflation or supply chains as an excuse. The minute that things are going to happen, they're going to lay off a bunch of people and then still give the CEO a $30 million paycheck.
Yeah, this article doesn't really get into it, but there's been, a lot of articles out basically debunking the inflation thing. Like, it's a real thing, but you have a lot of companies having record profits. And when you go into their investor calls, they readily admit that they don't have to raise prices as much as they do. But they can, so they will. Pretty much that's it. Meanwhile, they're giving raises, bonuses to the, high level executives. And, they're just using it as an excuse to raise prices that make even more money that never trickles down.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop them. So they just, it's going to be for the shareholder and for the CEO. And then again, like once things go back to normal, what they're going to do, they're going to try to use an excuse of, we're going to lay off some people because minimum wage is what it costs. Even Chipotle tried to use that excuse, right? They were like, oh, we got to pay our employees more, so we're going to raise everything. And their CEO got like a $40 million like payday. So they're going to use everything. Everybody's using supply chain. Like literally, I went to my dentist and they charged me like an extra like $15 for something that costs less, and they're like, oh, it's supply chain. So everything's going to be supply chain. Everything's going to be inflation, and they're just going to get away with it.
So Alan says, my job is increasing their prices on the merchandise. I blame their greed for capitalism. Can't even heat the coffee cup in the microwave. People just want to make money and blame inflation. What's up? They're trying to save money on electricity. They don't want to let you use the microwave to heat your coffee. Man, your job is a mess. That's crazy.
But you look at all the record profits that a lot of these companies made during the pandemic and still continue to make. And like you said, they're just going to continue using this as an excuse to keep having those profits while people continue to suffer, even their workers,
Look at Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, even the grocery stores, when they say, they're like, oh, our essential workers, let's give them an extra $1, in their hour or something like that. And then, this is taking a little too long. Let's take it back now.
But even like, in that article, like what they said, right? They're like, oh, it costs us an extra 6 cents. So we're going to make it an extra 12 cents for the consumer. So they adding an extra 6 cents for profit for them. So, if if they really was just saying inflation and it was not so greedy, just pass the 6 cents to the consumer then, right? And now it's 6 cents. It's the cost it's going to be. But they're like, oh, this is an opportunity for us to charge an extra, 6 to 10 cents extra. And imagine they do that across the board with, things that people need, milk, eggs and stuff, like little things that people really need on every day. And they just getting away with it. And there's nothing nobody's doing to call them out.
That's what I was about to say is, what can we do? Like, what can we do? Unfortunately, a lot of these companies are like, the majority of these companies, they're monopolies or duopolies, where they only a few control what's going on, or like the farm from food all the way to the media. They just control almost in every industry.
Well, there's no
You
pressure.
know my
also.
answer: boycott the hell out of all of them. I mean, obviously you can't boycott a grocery store, right? We all know that. But you can boycott an Amazon. You can boycott, a lot of these companies that are just record profits throughout this pandemic. It's not that hard
Yeah.
to do. So that's
Yeah,
that's my answer.
they're gonna try. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. The problem is when everything is owned by the corporation. So you have all the media outlets, including the ones that everybody, oh, they're so lefty, but they're not, like the CNNs or whatever. They're just parroting the same thing about inflation to give them cover. And that's where the people, like the general public, they don't know what's really going on unless they go through other sources and see what's really going on with their record profits and things like that. Because the media, they're just gonna keep saying inflation, 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 to give them cover because they're a corporation too.
Yeah, but I think they should, politician one way or another should put pressure on these companies, right? Because what they're using now, the Republican talking points is that, right? Oh, it's costing this much because we have a Democrat president, which it has probably nothing to do with that. But they got to put pressure on it. Like I give you an example of Salvador. El Salvador president, he went to those companies and said, like, you raise these prices on consumer, we will fine you. Well, that's price gouging and doing all this stuff. If politicians start putting pressures on this grocery store and said, you know what, it's 6 cents, you shouldn't be charging people 12 cents. Maybe something could be done, but they're not, because they are the one that lobbying them to allow them to do all this stuff and get away with whatever they want.
I know we rip on Bernie all the time, but he's like one of the few people that I've ever seen go directly after companies like this, and actually in some cases affect some change when it comes to Amazon, when it comes to Disney too. So you got to give him credit for that. I don't know what's going on with him right now, but you talk about politicians doing it. Bernie's like the only one we've ever seen even attempt it.
Yeah, he did call out Chipotle for that. He called out the
he
Chipotle.
did. Okay, good.
Yeah. But I want to so since we're on the topic, right? I just want to take a quick sidestep from Carlito's rundown to show this video real quick, and this is an example of what was done, I believe, in Italy. Yeah, in Italy. Let me play this real quick. Make it big.
Do you know how they used to deal with rising prices in Italy? In the 1970s, there was a mass refusal to comply with price rises to essential services, a practice that was called autoriduzione, or self-reduction. In 1974, bus fares in Turin rose by 30%. In response, commuters set up tables near the bus depot, issuing substitute tickets at the old price. Supported by bus workers, after a few days the new fares were scrapped. The same happened with bills. Neighbours organised committees and collectively refused to pay up to 50% of their bills. Workers at the electricity company supported them by refusing to disconnect people for non-payment. Actions like these spread across the country, with people also successfully reducing prices at supermarkets, restaurants, and even music venues and cinemas.
All right,
Power
so
of the dollar, man.
Yeah, that sounds to me, we need solidarity with everybody. So you hear what they said. They basically, like, they would pay 50% of their bill, and the people on the other side, though, they wouldn't disconnect them. You know what I'm saying? So we need the workers to give solidarity along with the people who are getting billed. The bus companies, they were giving out tickets that were the original price and not giving the tickets of the new price.
Yeah, I mean, you need the support of the workers there, 'cause gotta be everybody. And unfortunately, it's hard to see it in America. Like Alan said, Americans will fight to death to be charged higher prices. That's the American way. So they're gonna say, nah, that's business and capitalism. You're supposed to do what the market bears, and it's gonna self-regulate the invisible hand of the market, blah blah blah. So
And I think it's harder now, right? Because now companies can track and be like, hey, you're the guy that allowed this to happen, and you're fired. We're gonna sue you.
Yeah.
Before
And
then,
not
like,
only
what
that,
tracking did you have?
Not only that, Bendone, is kind of impersonal. The system that we have now, like, you can go to pay your Comcast bill or your internet service provider. You go online and you pay it. It's not like you're calling in somebody directly and saying, "Hey, can you give me a break this month, or can I just pay half and you continue on my service?" It's impersonal now. Yeah. Go ahead, Carlito.
Hard enough to get somebody on the phone when your internet goes down.
There you go. That too. That too, yeah, man.
All right.
Sound like you're speaking from personal experience.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know I am. No, I am. Man. Right. Last story. Let's go back to what we are talking about earlier with Imani. Exclusive. Top House Democrat unveils plan to beat back progressive rebellion by Caravat at Rolling Stone. So, I always say that the establishment Democrats rather lose to a Republican than win with a progressive. So tell us about the Democrats' latest harebrained idea here, Case.
Yeah, not only that, but I want to, if you come from the opposite view, right? What if a whole bunch of progressives, and right now, who's more popular? Progressives are moderate, right? Moderates like Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. These people are not our friends, and their poll numbers, I'm sure, especially outside their state, are really low. So what if like AOC, Cori Bush was on the Capitol steps fighting for the eviction moratorium to stay in effect? Progressives have the popularity and they have the policy on their side. Imagine if they did this. They said, hey, we're going to create an organization. We're going to create a PAC. We're going to go after all the moderates that are not serving the people. Like, people's hair would go on fire, Nancy Pelosi.
If you remember, that's the reason why they had they were blacklisting organizations that were progressives that were challenging incumbents.
From the DCCC, the DCCC. So from the organization themselves was making this type of change. It's crazy.
Yeah. So they don't care, man. They don't want to lose their power, and knowing that having progressives challenge them on progressive ideas, they're losing because when it's especially in safe blue districts, they know that the people won't be afraid to vote for the lesser evil per se. They'll just say like, this is what I want. If the Democrat is going to win anyway, let me vote for the best Democrat available, and they don't like that.
Yeah. So when did this article come from? So where this article, if you're talking about the article is from Rolling Stone, and it's from February 16th. Yeah. Just to let you know, my man, I always see where in all the different Harlan's media and all the other shows that I'm watching, I always see him there. So much love to you. So I want to ask this question because I was thinking about this the other day, and I love pretty much everybody in the left ecosystem. I enjoy everybody. There's people on the Revolutionary Blackout Network, all the way to TYT. There's all the different spectrums that's out there. And the big debate was this Dem exit versus Dem enter. And to me, my vision or my philosophy is all of the above, because every district is different. Every level is different. You have the presidential level, then you have the Senate, then you have the House. Every different level is different. So I can't just blatantly say I just want all third party, right? But I'm looking at the Democratic Party and I'm thinking of it, what is a good metaphor? And I was thinking, maybe just think of the Democratic Party as a vehicle. If a vehicle goes and hurt and crashes into somebody or goes into accident, are you blaming the vehicle, or are you going to blame the person who's drunk driving, right? So I'm not going to go to the car and blame the car unless it was something straight up faulty with the car. I'm going to blame the person driving the car. So who's driving the Democratic Party right now? Pretty much it's Republican-like people. That's at the top head of the party, from Nancy Pelosi to all the other people. And we see that by what Carlito just said, that they rather lose to they rather have a Republican win than to have a progressive win. And that's because they're Republicans. That's like, maybe that's just the way we have to start naming Nancy Pelosi and all these different people, like just straight up calling Republicans that have taken over the Democratic Party. What do you guys think?
Is this where you would force the vote?
Go ahead, Carlito.
This guy, man.
That's why I'm hoping for primaries. Primary anybody. I don't care. Anybody. It doesn't matter if you're in a safe district. You shouldn't just be entitled to it. You should still have to work. Like Imani was saying, you got to work for your job. How hard is it got to be? Do you need to have a strong challenger for you to just do the bare minimum, like putting on pants? Come on now.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you said that because I'm going to go straight into this video and you guys let me know what's wrong with this video right here.
Republicans failed to win a statewide office.
Let me turn it up.
Presidents like Lincoln and FDR and Teddy Roosevelt, they were all handpicked by party bosses, which makes this first possible solution, albeit quite controversial.
Okay, let me just set it up real quick. So they're talking about solutions for primaries, right? They're like, this is one of the solutions that they have for primaries. I'm gonna reverse it real quick.
Presidents like Lincoln and FDR and Teddy Roosevelt, they were all handpicked by party bosses, which makes this first possible solution, albeit quite controversial, one of the easiest. Ditch the primaries and just let a small group of politicians decide their party's nominee. I know, that sounds terrible on its surface. But in the past, party bosses have been able to keep extremists off the ballot. Today, not so much.
It would take out the people who are basically in it to be bomb throwers and not in it to legislate and to get things done.
Virginia Republicans just did this for their gubernatorial nominee, handpicking businessman Glenn Youngkin. Without a primary to push him further to the right, Youngkin won over the general electorate, ending an 8-year streak in which Virginia Republicans failed to win a statewide office. Presidents like Lincoln and FDR.
Yeah, you guys heard that?
No. Hell no.
Yeah, I was like, did I just watch this? Like, seriously? Like, this is a solution?
But that's kind of what happens, though. Like, I mean, if you look, that's, I mean, the Democrats don't do it like the Republicans do it, right? But they just handpick their candidate. They go after and give them all the
official
unlimited
policy,
money.
though, John.
Yeah, I know, no.
Well,
I mean, no.
policy, and we also still have a primary so that we can still at least try.
I'm not saying that I agree with what he's saying. I'm saying that unofficially, that's what they do, right? If you look, like they talk about, well, that's what Republican did in Virginia. Yeah, they did in Virginia, but the Democrat picked the worst possible guy, and that's why they lost. So they unofficially do that. They unofficially gave us they pushed Hillary. They told us Biden was electable, and they just push whoever they want. They pick whoever they want, and they we just talked about the article, right? Like they rather lose to a Republican than win with a progressive. So they're gonna go really hard after that person to get their candidate. Look at Kentucky. Right, and they pick Amy over Charles, and look what happened.
Well, that's because they do it. It's not like unofficially. I mean, when the bosses are the corporations, those are the bosses. So they choose who they endorse by the money they give them. And in this, system that we have, money talks. It's hard for other candidates to get into races because it takes so much money to not be sold out, not be bought out. You have to put your name out there, pay for ads, pay for people if you don't have enough volunteers. So I mean, it really is happening already. It just, instead of being a group of people saying we choose you, is a group of people saying we'll fund you. So it's the same thing in essence.
But we still have the primaries to actually have a choice. We still have the ability to have an Imani in a race. We still have the ability to have an AOC in the race who actually won. You know what I mean? So the idea of banning all primaries, that's scary as hell to me.
And this dude was talking about, at least they were able to keep out the bomb throwers. I mean, first of all, you know who the bomb throwers were back then? It was everybody progressive. So that was what they're saying, pretty much. Now you're talking about the Marjorie Taylor Greene and people like that, but they're there because they're allowed to be. They could keep them out, but they're useful to the right wing. So it's not like they can just they're getting in there, without some of them are not taking, have a lot of small donations, but in general, they're basically doing astroturfing, talking about being, populist, but they're just riling people up in order to get in, and then at the end they'll just do the corporate bidding anyway. So it doesn't matter. They're doing it right now.
To let everybody know that I clipped that part. That was the hot take from a bigger full segment that you can go to my account, Case Study QB on Twitter, and you can find the full segment. And it did mention, Carlito, you hit it right on the head. He did mention AOC as the extremist on the left, and Marjorie Taylor Greene as the extremist on the right. Like that's an actual thing. And then I saw that Alan asked, I'm not going to say the word, but he asked this right here. So let me show that this is where it came from. Exactly. So it's this channel called NBC LX, which is supposed to be like a local channel or whatever. But yeah, that was a horrible take.
That's their Fox News for the that's the version of Fox News right there.
Virtual Fox News. Yeah. Anything else on this before I move on?
Yo, is that where what's his face from Fox went to? What's his name? The guy that was the head news guy.
Oh no, he went to CNBC. Shepard? You talking about Shepard Smith?
No, not Shepard.
Oh no. I don't know who you talking about then.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I
want to ask you all.
Have those questions at least.
I want to ask you all if you can get. I'm not even going to show my comments on this, but I want to see if you get the same thinking that I got when I watched.
They're all running. I know who I'm voting for already.
President Harris. I have to say, I was struck by seeing Vice President Harris on the global stage, sending that very stark warning to Russia. And I'm curious what you think, what that does for her legacy here at home. We're in a midterm year. She is the heir apparent on the Democratic ticket. To see her in this capacity certainly will have domestic impacts here politically. What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Tiffany. It's good to be with you and to discuss this increasingly tense situation, and also to see you, Brother Terrell. I hope you're staying safe over there in Ukraine. So look, the Vice President has been on the world stage a few times in her first year or so as Vice President, and what administration officials point out to me is that she has been pretty well received. I mean, whether she's been smoothing over relations in France after that submarine deal, or being on hand for the inauguration recently of the first woman president of Honduras. Just as you pointed out, she's somebody who could be her party's nominee for president down the road. So these kinds of world stage moments kind of bolster her foreign policy bona fides, and that's going to be important in terms of normalizing her leadership both at home and abroad. This Munich Security Conference specifically is something that President Biden also attended when he was vice president, and her being there is another sign of the trust and confidence and partnership that he has with Vice President Harris. And you saw, her being seen as respected and applauded on that stage when she said very forcefully, that she, with absolute certainty, if Russia further invades Ukraine, the United States, together with our allies and partners, will impose significant and unprecedented economic costs. Now, when you hear that kind of talk, that reminds me of what you saw from her as a senator, grilling nominees during the Trump administration, and something that she's been doing for much of her life as a prosecutor. And that, seeing how she takes on bad guys or adversaries is really part of the lived experience that she also brings to the role of vice president. And she's also in Munich really reinforcing the president's strong message of support and standing with America's allies.
All right. So what you guys got from that?
I mean, what's with dude? What's with the dude in his
outfit? I thought that was funny too. Let me show.
I thought it was a joke at first. I thought it was like he was like following the show.
You know how you see those videos? You know, I see his video. You see like a reaction to it. I was waiting for it.
I mean, she's good. I don't know where he is, but I'm pretty sure it's not Ukraine. She kept a straight face when she said that.
No, he apparently he's out there in Ukraine. But what I got from he was out there reporting, but he looked like he was Black Santa Claus out there.
I don't know, holding a phone like a selfie. I mean, I thought. The
and he had you noticed that too.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a reaction video. I thought it was gonna be a joke.
Nah,
well, I mean, really everything she said, it was basically a joke.
But hey, John, let me jump in real quick and say my point was this was a 2-minute infomercial for Kamala Harris for president.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They're gonna push her. But she is disliked. She can't even she got 3% of the vote in her own state, or some crazy amount of vote like that. Where's she gonna win? Where?
Yeah,
and it's crazy that they treat it as just because she basically showed up to this thing. That's hugely presidential. All she had to do was show up. She didn't even have to give a good speech. She didn't change any policy at all. But because she was there, it's all right. Well, she's the next candidate, clearly.
Yeah. Oh wow! I did not even know this is 902.
Let me be devil's advocate a little bit, because when other candidates do their, duties, other officials, they go on humanitarian trips or they go on fact-finding missions. That's their job. So her out there, that's her job. So there is some kind of double standard going on with her, and the bigger reason why she would lose, unfortunately, is because she's a black woman. I'll be straight up. That's the bigger reason why she would lose.
She will lose because nobody likes her.
I think even black women are like, nah, I'm good.
No, I don't think like let's not go in and say that she will lose because she's a black woman.
No, that's the main reason. It doesn't. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what her policies are. She's not going to win because of that in this country.
She's not going to win
because you can't even talk about race in schools nowadays.
Honestly, John,
not win because she's a terrible candidate.
John and Carlito, she's terrible because the president is terrible. Like, you can't do much in the tradition of our VPs. Yeah. You don't really do it. You're a symbolic person. Only if the president dies, then you become relevant. And if you go the way of the president,
she's terrible because her political career is terrible. So let's not go in and say like, oh, that's because she's terrible because Biden, whatever. Not like, we always want to judge politicians based on their career, and her career politician has not been that great. So
let me tell you this: if Biden gave her the word to not fire but to overrule the parliamentarian, for example, right? She will be the most popular person probably in America, especially to pass voting reform, to pass police reform, to pass the BBB or whatever. Not the BBB because you need more people.
Yeah, we talking. Listen, as far as her own individual career as a candidate, I agree with you, John. But like Kay said, as a vice president, she's just doing whatever the president tells her.
Yeah, that's my point.
Correct. But what I'm telling you is that we're not going to be like, oh my God, let's put her as the presidential candidate.
Yeah, I don't want her to be it. I don't want her to be either. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that is kind of two-sided, and so it is what it is, man.
I just want to play this one last video before we end the show.
If you look at the polling, real quick, if you look at the polling, when they ask about her, she's out. She's like all the way at the bottom. So Wall Street loves her. A lot of people, but the people don't. So let's not put race in there because she's a black woman. Like that's not even part of it. She would just lose because she would lose because she's bad.
All right.
I don't know. All right, we're gonna play one last video and then we're gonna end the show.
This gets back to the. You're right. The Democrats need to have this out. The problem is all the indications are that the progressive messaging, whether it's on Build Back Better, whether it's on schools, whether it's on any number of issues, immigration, is not popular with the American people. And so that's why you see these centrist Democratic operatives coming out and saying, we're going to see a bloodbath in November because of the...
What's your view on what's unpopular? Because I see lowering prescription drug prices, I see taxing the rich as very popular, but I'm interested in...
Well, sure, they sound very popular in a poll, but when it gets down to actually what it takes to implement that and what it costs, that is where it is incredibly unpopular. With the amount of money in the Build Back Better plan was too much for the American population. Had Joe Biden come out and done universal preschool or some element of it, or prescription drugs,
he could. Those were all
but it was you had to do every single thing at one time, and that is the problem with the progressive movement right now. Is they're not being incremental.
Well, that's a debate about tactics.
Yes,
right, and I think that's a debate that.
And going to the public with all of those popular measures, I think, is a winning message.
Clearly not.
We put Faz and the left on.
Yeah.
So that's Faz Secure, Bernie Sanders' campaign manager. Incrementalism, guys. That's all we need.
Wait,
who is
her?
She's a Republican, strategist. I don't have the name.
But listen, but here's why this is why I always have a problem with mainstream media. Like, they don't even push back. They don't be like, that's not true. Look at the polling. Like, they have access to put the polling in there. It talks about that, 60+% is for Medicare for all, 60%. Like they just be like, oh yeah, I know, like that's not winning, and it frustrates me to watch. Like
well, Faz was trying to do that, but that's why we need not a fact checker, but somebody that moderates properly.
Good journalism.
Right?
Good journalism.
There we go.
Good journalism will push back on that and will say, you know what, where you get your numbers from, because this is the numbers that we getting from the poll. So they
Chuck Todd did not do that. So I hear what you're saying, John. Chuck Todd should have jumped in and say, "Wait, hold on a second."
Chuck Todd, what's he gonna do? He's a dummy.
I mean, at the same time, the fact that Faz was even on this show is kind of a lot already. Like, if you want to give him partial credit, the fact that they even had him on is surprising for MSNBC. So
that is true. That's a good point.
Whenever there's a moderator, or whenever there's like a progressive in there, they're number like 1 to 5 in every show.
That's true. That's true. So, and then they counter him with some crazy right-wing Republican like this woman. So yeah, can't give him too much credit. I said partial credit.
Yep. All right, we can play the music now, Brendon. Much love to everybody. Thanks for coming out to this week's episode. Next week we might have a guest. I'm not going to announce yet, but we're gonna have more people coming on the show coming up soon. And much love to all the people. Any last words? Let me give a shout out to the chat real quick before we go to last words with my peoples. So World Pilgrim, much love to you. PJ Holly Horn, PJ Neat in the building. PJ the Love Always in the building. Who else? I know Mia's out there somewhere. Much love to you. Who else we got? I think that's it right there.
Did you say Holly?
All right.
Holly Horn?
Yeah, I said PJ Holly. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So Brendon, any last words? All right.
Don't push the vote.
And let me just shout out, since it's on the screen, Nancy Vancha, Pedro Hernandez, Deborah B, PJ Chris. We missed PJ Chris this week. Akiba Shakita, Zachary Agustin. All right. So Izzy, any last words?
Oh man, it's good to be back.
Yeah. Carlito.
Yo, Madonna and I in our Call of Duty league. Our team name is All Guys Chicago. A bunch of all guys playing Call of Duty.
Okay. All right. So you have a Twitch? Is there a Twitch out there?
Yeah, Twitch.tv/cbedon.
There you go. All right. John, last
word. I didn't get to talk about this real quick, but after I've seen the disastrous of the People Party, I don't think that a third party option is viable right now. We just got to infiltrate People Party for mess. So
well, I need that Rick James.
What about the Green Party, John? Green Party.
Have you seen the Green Party? They're a mess. like I thought it was stuff that after I see that disastrous of the People's Party, I don't think there's going to be any.
Man, I remember they had Nina Turner, they had Cornel West, they had all these different people at that convention. Remember? And we had our show back then too. We talked about it. Huh?
It's like when you create a project, it looks good on the wall, and then you start implementing it, and you're like, yeah, wasn't that really that good? They got access ballots in Virginia, and then just they don't even put a candidate in, and everybody quits. It was a mess. We could talk about this next week, but the People Party is a hot mess.
Yeah, I don't want to make excuses or nothing because I wasn't too high on it, but I wouldn't doubt any infiltration going on.
I would say they have a Slack room, and there was a lot of racist people in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were definitely in there, but whether or not is up to the leaders to then kick those people out. And that was the issue, that the leaders or the moderators were not kicking out those racist people. So at that point, how infiltrated are you? If you're not even
when you're buddy with Jimmy Dore, what do you expect?
I mean, that's he was one of the speakers there, so it's one of the ones.
Anyway, we could get all into
we
it.
We could get on it next week if you want. We could do this at overtime, whatever you want. I just want to say last word to that.
John, if you can give us the Virginia inside game, I don't know if you have any inside, know somebody or something, but I'll definitely be interested in that next week, though.
Yeah, I don't have much inside. I knew I was part of their email list and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I knew I just heard about everybody quitting and stuff for that. I started the minute I started seeing some stuff, I was like, yeah. I kind of predicted this. You get to see the way they were running and stuff, and the kind of people that stood there. So I just infiltrate.
Horrible. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and I appreciate that. Thank you for all the love and support, and we will see y'all next Monday. Force the vote, baby.
God.